Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Pick Up the Mic is at their first in-person event. The Brunel's Entrepreneurial Hub have invited us along to interview some of their startups as well as some students to ask some questions on entrepreneurship, how they found this amazing event today, Entrepreneurs 2023, but also a bit of advice for you, any of our entrepreneurs out in the audience who are thinking of applying for competitions like the venture competition that we previously discussed on the podcast, but also giving you some advice on general life tips. So let's get started with the first one.
My account right now, I'm just trying to reskill everyone.
So do you have your
So, hi guys. Could you just let us know who you are, maybe what you studied at Brunel and what your startup is?
Sure, so I'm Josh King. I studied product design BSc at Brunel University. I graduated in 2018. I've been working for around 4.5 years, but recently, last 2 months, I quit my job to go full-time with Zero Lifestyle, our startup.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I also graduated in 2018. I studied industrial design and technology, which was a BA. So in the design world, it was the opposing course to what Josh took. And I've also been working full-time since I graduated, and I got my job at the Brunel Made in Brunel show, so that's a win. Win for Brunel. And we've together started a startup called Zero Lifestyle, and we want to redefine the assistive living sector, and we'll be launching our first product towards the end of the year, which is a 4-wheeled rollator.
Wow, looking forward to it. I guess one thing I'd like to start off with, which I guess is in the entrepreneurial world, is interesting because we're sort of starting with the failure, because I think that was a really big thing that sort of came from the discussion, and I guess if you guys are happy to say it, have you experienced any failures, and if you had, what sort of helped you to sort of overcome that?
I think everyone always has obstacles. So from the start, like when you do a lot of students, we ask to do their business model canvas. I think not in the sense of failure, I think you just always have to be ready to change your sort of business model. I mean, we're not even launched yet, but as we've gone through prototyping, speaking to investors, going through competitions, you just make a lot of mistakes and realise after you speak to the actual stakeholders, you need to redirect, move on. When it comes to prototyping, we've wasted a lot of money on when we should have gone very rough very early on, but we're too perfectionists and try to make it perfect first time, but it never does. I don't know about you, Josh.
One big failure for me, which I think I've learned from, was actually the venture competition they spoke about today. We mentioned we've been running for just over a year and a half. We actually applied to the venture competition. They kindly let us enter, and we just got positively floored, but we did not win. We were not successful, and it did knock us back a bit. We were like, we thought our idea was amazing, but actually...
In fact, I don't think Mike even let us enter.
No, I don't think he might not have. I think he was like, guys, come back.
It was like a napkin sketch, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then we came back with help from the Entrepreneur Hub a year later, and entered the venture competition again, and then we won. So that was a win after winning. So but that's a bit of failure. You're just going to pick yourself up and carry on, and like they said on the panel, good things come to people who wait sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. I guess sort of linking into that, what would you say, because being an entrepreneur, I guess sort of like people are saying there, you sort of see the big entrepreneurs, living the high life, and that's not the experience for everyone. But I wanted to ask, what's your favourite thing about being an entrepreneur?
So I mean, up to about 2 months ago, we incorporated the company in March 2021, and we'd been spending every evening and every weekend basically slogging through to get to where we were. And then it was only 2 months ago where I actually got to quit my job, and I'd say that was my favourite part of the experience, just being able to actually throw myself straight into it. But George is obviously a massive support because both of us are partners, but also co-founders together. So George is still working full-time and working evenings and weekends on Zeal with myself, and bringing the income in while I try and push forward to get manufacturing basically. I think quite much off the favourite part.
I have to say, I think my favourite part of being an entrepreneur, which I always find weird when you call yourself an entrepreneur because you're like, oh, what actually is it? But I quite like that I'm just doing it for myself and we're doing it for us. And I do go to work and I do work full time, but I come back in the evenings and I know I'm working hard for my future vision of what our company will be.
Wow, that's really great. Oh, wow, thank you. And I guess just before it ends, what would be your one piece of advice that you would like to give to a Brunel entrepreneur?
I'd say that if you've got any idea, particularly if you're a student or recent graduate, just for the venture competition, I'd say throw your idea in the hat because you've got nothing to lose. And if anything, you're just going to get very good feedback on where you're not at and where you could improve and to improve it. And I'd say in terms of actually when you've got the business, just keep going and be tenacious and just keep going even when you get knocked back. Because I'm sure you get there in the end. I hope we will anyway, because we're certainly not there yet.
Fingers crossed. All I would say is in the panel, we had a debate about fake it till you make it. And I do really like saying, but I think you should just change it to believe in yourself and you'll make it. Which is better than feeling like you're going to fake it, and that would be my advice to any student. Just believe you can do it and make it, and if faking it till you make it is part of that, then do it.
Oh, perfect. So thank you so much, guys, and thank you for being on the podcast.
Oh, no, thank you.
Thank you.
So, hi Francis, could you just introduce yourself, let us know a bit more about you and your business?
Okay, so, hi Jeffrey. So, my name is Francis Jones and I run STEM at Home. And our goal is to try and make science education more accessible for every single child in the UK. We understand that loads of schools have issues running science practicals, especially at GCSE, but we are here to make sure that every single child can have full access to a high quality science education that they truly, truly deserve.
Well, thank you. And we've been asking people because I think and you even spoke during the panel discussion, the main thing that sort of came up was this idea about failure and how failure isn't a bad thing, it's a good thing. And it's something that, I guess as an entrepreneur, you sort of have to come to terms, it comes with the territory essentially. And we wanted to know what was a failure that essentially, worked out, you learned a big lesson from it?
So, one thing that I realised from my first edtech startup is that if you want to create a company as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to describe your product in a single sentence or a single image. If you take more than 3 sentences to describe your business, you will just lose people's attention. So that's why I'm developing STEM at Home, because boxes, science practicals, in a box, it's easy to understand when you have a look at it, rather than a AI algorithm-backed attainment management GDP platform, which is a total mouthful, to make things concise and easy to understand.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I think that's so true, as a sort of both from speaking to the Entrepreneur Hub, but also from, watching entrepreneurial videos about being an entrepreneur, the elevator pitch, being able to speak about your business in 60 seconds and in a concise and easy way to understand that you're not sort of using all this language and it's just going over everyone's head. It's a skill at the end of the day. And like you said, it's something that you will essentially fail at, but it's also being prepared to, being able to explain your business to someone who has no expertise in that area, but they can see that what you're talking about is a problem and what you're delivering as a solution is so important. Yeah, no, thank you. We're going to go on to our next question, which I'd like to ask, what has been your it could be your biggest achievement, But it could also be, if it's not your favourite achievement, we could go with your favourite achievement that you've done since you've basically started STEM at Home.
So I would say our biggest achievement, or the moment that made me the happiest, was when we realised that our initial business model was not correct. Originally, we were selling B2C, mostly towards parents, but then we weren't generating the sales that we wanted. But then we started noticing that schools were actually buying quite a lot of our products. And we realised, should we listen to what our original metrics were telling us, which was sell to parents because parents want to buy this, but then we noticed parents weren't really buying it, and then it turns out schools were buying quite a lot of our products. So we realised, as a business, it's a good idea to try and listen more to who's actually buying your products. So we shifted from B2C towards B2B, and the traction has just been exponential at the moment. I think I was joking about this earlier, but because we got like our first major B2B contracts in the triple digits, so the amount of units we need to produce is not enough for a fulfillment distribution center, which requires an MOQ, a minimum order quantity, of at least the pentuple digits. But it's also, there's a lot of it that I now have a severe lack of sleep because I am trying to make everything by hand. So I guess that's a good sign, right? You know, better to lose sleep because you're trying to fulfill orders than to lose sleep because you're not getting enough.
No, definitely. And I think that's, we spoke about it before we sort of recorded it. It's always nice to see your projects gain traction. It's always nice to see people engaging with the stuff that you're doing, and that's always something to appreciate. Before we, I've got one question, and if I can think of another one, we'll go ahead and ask it. Essentially, first off, what would be your one piece of advice for a current student at Brunel? They want to be a Brunel entrepreneur like yourself. What would be your one piece of advice to them?
Just do it. Just don't be scared. Just do it. Many people in Brunel that were thinking of ideas are generally undergraduates. And honestly, in your undergraduate year, you can just do whatever you want. And even if you fail, it's not like it's going to affect you for the rest of your life. Just do it. Just like, what are you scared of? You have an idea, do it. Just do it. That's pretty much my main advice.
That's perfect. And I think that's so true. I spoke to Kay about it outside that, there's always that fear and that sort of fear of failing or the fear of not being successful or comparing, yourself to others and saying that you're not going to match up with them. But like you said, the only way you'll know how good or how bad your business is by literally just doing it and sort of finding the lessons, learning from failures, celebrating the successes and being happy with it. I think sort of linking to what you were saying I was at an entrepreneur event at Imperial London, and they had this speaker called Nate, and his business essentially came from a project he did for his dissertation. And I know that we previously spoke about dissertations and stuff like that, and he was saying that you'd be surprised at how many students create like amazing projects for their dissertation or like for their, for a group project, or they do like amazing work, but then it's just like, okay, it was great for the project. I don't need to sort of make a business out of this, or I don't need to work on it. And it's just like, no, you could make if you've got a problem and you provide the solution to a problem, that's essentially what a business is.
Yeah. It's kind of funny how I started up with STEM at Home. So STEM at Home was an evolution of my prior edtech startup, but do you know who Eric Andre is?
I think I actually do.
Yeah.
I think I do.
Meme Man does the whole the whole let me in thing, just that really weird Adult Swim show. So what happened was, one time during the pandemic, I saw an Eric Andre meme. This Eric Andre meme ended up making me buy Yakuza 7 on the PS4. Yakuza 7 had an incredibly extensively long business mini game, and I spent about 40 hours just trying to get 100% on this little extensive mini game in Yakuza Like a Dragon. And then I not getting an idea by combining everything from that mini game into my experience in school management, and then they ended up forming like my first edtech startup. Then through negotiations with a larger edtech firm, I got loads of insights towards the edtech industry in the UK. and then I funneled all the information and knowledge I got into STEM at home.
Wow.
Yeah, so everything came up just because I saw an Eric Andre meme.
So when you see a meme, you don't know where it could take you guys. So.
Oh yeah. So right now, so I see an Eric Andre meme back in like late 2020, and now I have a lack of sleep trying to fulfill orders and drowning in paperwork. You never know where life takes you, kids.
Oh, but that's perfect. Thank you so much, Francis. And
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you for all the wonderful insight you gave.
Cool. And thank you for the questions as well, Jeffrey. Thank you.
So yeah, could you just let us know a bit more about you and your startup?
Hi, I'm Anastasia, and my startup is called Sentient, where we're adding smells to virtual reality.
Oh, perfect. And before we continue, could you please tell us what your catch line is? Because it was on your banner, and it made a few of us laugh. So yeah, could you just let us know what it is?
Sentient. It just makes sense.
See that? That's marketing. But yeah, we'd love to know essentially, what inspired you to start your startup.
Curiosity, scientific curiosity. I studied biomedical sciences at Brunel. I was always a very scientific person. And back in 2016, even before I started my degree here, I had a heated debate over dinner with my partner about whether you can send smells from one device to another. And that turned philosophical and technical very quickly. So we kind of kept coming back to the idea and kept revisiting what we can do in there. And then we noticed that there isn't anything like that on the market. Then after a year or two, we've noticed that somebody had done it in Japan. We're like, okay, well, but it's not here. And we got disheartened briefly that somebody has already done it. But then we've researched more and never came to the European market, and we kind of found a niche in the virtual reality, which is a huge thing and it's really growing. So it's a very big market, and we then did a little bit more research and found out that training for military emergency services like firefighters, paramedics is a really important cause, and they're already using virtual reality, so adding smells to their training is going to be very powerful.
Wow, you heard it here first. But yeah, I guess going on to, because one thing that sort of came out from all the discussions with the panel was the idea of failure, or how I guess failure can sometimes not necessarily sort of be a setback, but more of a redirection. So yeah, has that ever happened to you? Have you had a bit of a redirection in life?
Yeah, I had a major career pivot. So I was very science oriented, and I did my placement while here at Brunel, and I went to do a whole year of academic research at Bristol University. And then when I came back, I finished my dissertation and went into pure academic research. And my mind was set. I'm only gonna do academic research. I'm gonna, have my own lab at some point. It was my mind was very set. And for that, you need a PhD. So I was approaching a lot of different labs to try and get a PhD position, and it was so difficult, and especially also right after COVID. All the funding went to COVID, and it was really hard, and I wanted to do research in neuroimmunology. So, and at the same time, our idea cooked up quite well, and we applied for the Young Innovators Award with Innovate UK, and we won the award right at the same time as I found out that I didn't get the PhD position I really wanted. So it was bittersweet, but I think I'm doing so much better than I would have with a PhD position, because it's a lot of hard work, and even though I love science and I really want to come back one day, I'm on such a journey and I love it.
Oh wow, that's amazing. I guess you sort of spoke about winning the award. Is that your biggest achievement? Is that your most proud achievement that you've done?
Well, since then we've won further funding, but I think it probably is because it really pivoted my career, it really pivoted my interest, and it allowed me to do something that I'm really passionate about. So I guess, it changed my life.
Perfect. And just before we let you go, there might be a Brunel student listening or watching, and they might be thinking, Anastasia, you've got this really cool story. I'd really like to know one key bit of advice that you could just tell me. What would be your one advice that you'd be if there's anything you could take away, this is it?
To
You can go with two.
But they kind of are connected.
Okay.
So the first one is jump onto any opportunity that is there for you. Opportunities, try everything out, especially at the beginning of your career. You need to test out where you feel at home in each position, in each job. It's really, really important. And the second one is be resilient and keep going. Because if you don't like it, and you really feel like, okay, this position does not work for me, you didn't fail, you learned something. You learned that you don't want to do this, and it's really important.
Wow, thank you. And thank you so much for all your amazing advice.
Thank you.
So hi everyone, hope you're doing well. We've got an amazing person on here today. Could you just let us know a bit more about you and your business?
So, first of all, hi everyone. My name is Simone Panella, and I'm the founder of Dymatech. Dymatech is an early stage startup. We're currently in the development stage of our Easy Tour headband. We are trying to help children to better assess head injuries while playing sport, from rugby to basketball to football to boxing and so on. So our goal is to kind of develop a easy to use tool that parents and coaches can use to make better decisions when a potential trauma has been sustained over training or over a session or a game.
Oh, that's really great. And I think, throughout the panel discussion, you had amazing points that you were mentioning. And one thing that we sort of said that's come from the panel discussion was this idea of, finding the lessons learned from failure.
Yeah.
And I think one question that we've sort of been asking everyone is, can you think of a moment where it appeared like a huge failure, but actually it taught you like an amazing lesson that you've sort of stuck with you ever since?
I mean, one of the biggest lessons I've learned definitely was to, as they were saying before, sometimes I've tried to kind of protect the idea a little bit too much at the start, and that's a huge mistake, because if you don't get exposed enough, or you don't get out there too often to talk to people about your idea, it's very hard for you to kind of adjust it and see what works and what not. So another big hit, and that was a spendy one as well, was to try to go too soon into IP, so patents and all that law. And I would say just one thing: when you have an idea, especially working in a brand new product, is very simple to change direction, and it's common for you to change the idea. For that reason, I strongly, I don't suggest anyone that have an idea, a startup idea, and try go into IP. Because worst case scenario, first, unless you are working on a product that you've been working for a product for 20 years, and for that, maybe in that case, that's a good way to go. But spending thousands of pounds in patents on a product that you most likely gonna change, because the reality of things, that once you have a product, you go out there and talk to the clients, talk to the customer. There's a very high chance you have to change something, and when you spend thousands of pounds patenting something that may have to be changed, that's very hard. So I'll strongly not suggest that.
No, thank you. And I think from reading the description that was sent to me about your work, seeing the stuff that you've done, I think you've got a lot of insight and a lot of knowledge, and you've done a lot of things. And I guess the question that we'd like to ask now is, what has been your proudest achievement today?
Well, if I look at the bigger picture, because you have to zoom out at some point and see what is going well, and you have to always be grateful, because at the end of the day, gratefulness is a key point for me as well. Greatest achievement, I would say, the fact that only 1.5 years ago, I only had draft designs of my first prototype, and now we're going through the second prototype So we achieved the first prototype, we tested out, we beta tested, see what was not working, and we now made our brand new prototype. So hopefully that is going to work better, but I'm pretty sure there's something that we have to change on this one as well. So yeah, I would say that, in a span of 1.5 years, we achieved, I've managed to achieve, I would say big things. So yeah, I would say that's the one and only big achievement.
Oh no, that's a really, really great achievement. Now, before we end this session, there might be some people watching and they might be thinking, you've got a really amazing story, and they just want to know, like, if you've got more than one, you can give more than one, but one piece of advice that you would say for a current Brunel student who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, whether they have a business idea or they just know that they want to do something, what would be your one piece of advice to them?
Well, definitely go out there and talk to as many people as possible. I think people, especially students, don't realize how lucky they are to be, first of all, in London, to be literally surrounded by luck, because you don't get to see and experience all the things that we experience here in London, for example, or the opportunities in the sense of the number of events we can attend. I always say this, if you wanna if you wanna learn how to play the piano, there's free piano lessons every day of the week, every hour of the day, and that's not always possible elsewhere. So I would say, if you're a student, leverage the power that you have as a student. Go out there, talk to as many people as possible, make your time valuable for you and for your business. So yeah, that's my piece of advice. Try to make the most out of your time when you are at uni, when you are here at Brunel, and because once you finish your universities, your studies, and you're not a student anymore, all this information, key information that may help you succeed in your business, and all these advices may not be free, and that's something you wanna look out for.
Oh wow! Thank you so much, and thank you for your time and all the wonderful advice you gave.
No worries. Thanks for inviting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So wow, such great advice, such great insight. Feel free, we'll include all the links below, and there should hopefully be some links that appear as they're speaking that tell you who they are and what their business is, but feel free to check the description to learn more. We're hoping to do more of these, so expect more from us very soon.